We can't log in, can she?
Yeah.
I'm fine, but I was already logged in, so I don't know if that has any
Probably
turn.
helps. At 6:44, back in, and we'll roll to we don't have a student's report tonight because he is at track. So right to you, Dr. Bezick.
Okay, a few items here. I sent out that note midweek. We just had so many things going on. I just had to get it off my
It was
back,
good.
chest, what have you, because I can't keep remembering all this. I just want to put a bug in your ear on some things here. Every year, this time of the year, we start talking about staffing. Actually, we do it earlier, but it comes down to a funnel right now. We start looking at where our holes are in the system, and that's when I put that out to you. After hearing so many requests of different things, just a kind of a common number or scenario rang through my head, and I just asked each building person, to fix some of their needs, what would they need? And if we got an extra 0.5 in each building, what would that look like? It's just a starting point. And I sent out that information to you. There are some obvious holes that would help improve the schedule. I think at the elementary, we've got some holes in the high school with Phy-Ed and health. Trying to find a halftime person really limits us in that regard. So they all gave me their recommendations and how they would use a 0.5. And then yesterday's meeting, we talked about it a little bit more and really stressed the fact that personally I have a problem with adding FTEs when our student numbers aren't climbing, because those lines don't meet anywhere good. But there are areas in our buildings that are in need of some transition. And when the opportunity comes up, if we have a retirement or a resignation or what have you, maybe there's some positions we shuffle around, we don't fill, or we reorganize. And after yesterday's conversation, both the middle school and the high school could take care of their needs internally, just by people leaving and what have you. So there wouldn't be any addition to the staff numbers there. The only one that we have a problem with is the elementary with a halftime Phy-Ed. And that's a large building to have one Phy-Ed person. It's tough. It's tough.
That's crazy when you think about it.
Well,
I don't know how
you're
they
dealing with
do it.
600 kids.
Is your specialist just a 1.0?
Yeah. And so and again, I'm just throwing this out here for you to see if there's any merit, if you'd support walking down this path on fixing a couple of these pieces. I'll get you some more hard data on it and exactly what would happen to make this happen. But again, the middle school and the high school could make the transitions they need internally with no FTE piece increase. The middle school, or excuse me, the elementary would need a 0.5 Phy-Ed person. And so again, I can shoot you more data out on that if you're interested in walking down the road. The other piece with the staffing is we're way out of compliance. We need a school nurse. We need a licensed school nurse on staff. And to do that, our thought is that we would bring one licensed nurse on and have one health aide, and that could cover the 3 buildings. So the net wash on something like that would be roughly around $30,000 to do that. But we should have a licensed school nurse on site.
What do we have now?
We've got 3 health aides,
But
actually 2 now.
they do have some certification. I'm not sure what it is. Do you know?
They do, but not, we need a licensed nurse, a licensed school nurse on here to dispense some of the medications and deal with some of the situations that we're dealing with.
Absolutely.
We've been very lucky. And again, that's something that I'll get you all the data and everything on that and all the requirements for that, but I'm not just making that recommendation right now that I think we really need to walk down this road.
Okay, so, but I'm concerned with one school not having an aide then. I'm okay with the school nurse in one building, but the other buildings have to at least have an aide.
Well, yes and no. I mean, we looked at the visits and what's happening in these buildings, and right now I don't think we need to. We can cover it with office people in the building that's off, that's short.
To dispense medications.
Yeah.
Well then,
Which building would not have one then?
Well, we look at you know, the high school is probably one that wouldn't have a constant there. I think that's the one we talked about. Was it the high school? Yep, the elementary. You know, how these, they're not seeing that many kids in the elementary, frankly. You know, and we get reports on, you know, what we have, and the feeling is that we can cover some of that with the office staff. But if we have a nurse, a school nurse, and an aide, we feel we can cover the district.
I'd like to see some numbers.
Yes.
Yeah, and we have, you know,
I want
again, if you're in,
data.
I think we need to go the route of the school nurse, whether we go with 2 aides or 1.
I'll
It's
give you
irrelevant,
that, absolutely, yes.
But
We
I
need a
think
school
the nurse thing is the first thing we gotta jump on,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And if we stay with 2 aides and a nurse, I'm okay, but I think what we see and what we talked about, we could probably cover it with 1. Again, that's just our conversation so far.
Is there less activity in the elementary school because they're not sending the kids to the, I mean, are the kids just staying in the room when they're not feeling well rather than going to the nurse's aid? Because little kids always have something wrong
Yeah,
with
you know,
them.
that I don't have an answer, I just don't have an answer for you on that one. But-
I'd like to see some numbers.
Yeah, and they keep track of different things as far as who comes in, what meds they're dispensing and what have you. But some of the medications and some situations we're dealing with, we should have a school nurse there.
Absolutely.
Well, it'd be a benefit too in reviewing the policies, if it's a certified nurse.
Yeah. And New Richmond just went and there's quite a pool, they had quite a pool. And in the past, we've struggled to find someone. We've had someone as a name, but that's about it. And she doesn't wanna do it anymore. So, you know, I can't think of her name, who's at the middle school?
It was Andre Johnson's wife.
No, but who's in the middle school now?
Oh, Dawn Spafford.
Yeah, and she's going way above and beyond what we should probably be asking her to do.
And she's not a registered nurse either.
No,
I think she's like EMT certified or something like that.
She was when she got hired, she never,
Renewed.
no, she didn't keep up with it.
Oh,
but again, I just wanna throw that out there. If you're on board with that, I'll get the data and the groundwork for you, so you can make a decision on that and have it ahead of time, so. Let's see, school nurse staffing, enrollment, comparatively from last year, we're down 30. We're down 1 from last month, so we're kinda staying fairly consistent. Bob needs to start building some houses around here. Let's see, the compensation work that we're doing, we're extremely busy with this right now, since, you know, we got the go-ahead or the charge from your last meeting. We've been crunching a lot of numbers. Dave and I are on a phone conference with Victoria on Tuesday to finalize the model that seems like the best fit for us here. And what we'll look at, and it'll probably be at the business meeting in June, and we'll get this out to you ahead of time, but we'll start putting some things, you know, forming it up, so you guys can take a look at these different models. You know, one of the models, you know, real simply is our compensation plan right now that we have. I put that information out to you. If we expanded our compensation model out into a step and lane grid, you know, I think I had said we had like 32 or 39 people that have been affected by the past trends. And roughly, to put everybody appropriately on that schedule, would be about $250,000, about $250,000. I saw the first draft of Virginia's or Victoria's, and I think we're gonna see anywhere from 150 to 225 on that model she has. But there's a lot of flexibility, moving parts that you guys really have to look at and see and make some decisions on with that. And so we're real close to getting that, so again, our goal is to have this thing up and running. And I think we'll be able to do that. I just got today the stipend list, I'll send that out to you as far as academic stipends that we pay out, what they are.
All stipends?
Just the ones that have to do curricular work,
Okay.
not activities.
Okay.
So just things that have been paid out in the past. And, you know,
Do the
there
activities.
isn't that many, but I'll send you that out so you can take a look, because all this has to come together somehow in a compensation plan. So that's what we're working on right now.
Absolutely.
And-
They're in the employee handbook.
Sorry.
Well,
Well,
the percentages in there.
You know, the one thing, that if I heard right from you last meeting, you know, our concern is people getting credit for credits and years of service, and that's what I keyed on.
Yep.
When I did the work on our current compensation model. And that's what our meeting with Victoria is, because all of our current data is, that we gave Victoria is current, not with what they were given credit for, but what they actually have earned, which is what we wanted to get on the new grid, so.
So did the communication go out to staff and saying, what is your level of credits? and
Verification.
education?
No, what we did, they went through every file. And,
Okay.
you know, we have everyone's transcript and every, you know, what they have credits for, because, you know, they have to have that when they come in. So, Dave's team went through every file and went through all the years of experience. Now, there may be something where someone had a year or something somewhere else that, you know, we're gonna find out. As soon as we release this, we're gonna find out from people. So we gotta keep it flexible, that if there's any discrepancy or what have you. But I would say this is pretty clean data right now. Again, there may be, you know, a year or something here, some credits, but it's, they went through it pretty tight. And I can, from the information, from the data that we put out last year to what we have now, it's, you know, it's different, because I can see where the holes are fixed.
Yeah, but, so I'm just curious why we wouldn't just send it to them what we have, what, you know, you kind of audited, it sounds to me like they kind of audited, went through very carefully. Send it to the employee.
I don't think it's quite,
Can I finish?
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Let them respond so that, and it may not, they may not get credit for it for whatever reason, but that way, when you send it for numbers, you've already done that part of it
Yeah.
to
Well,
get the dollars.
That's a step in the process, but we're doing a little differently. We're, like I say, that will happen, but it's not happening right now, because we're still trying to form this, what model we're looking at. And then once we form that, when, you know, it comes to you folks, you know, before it goes into concrete, then we have to have that interaction, double check and make sure that, you know, everything, so it's gonna
Yeah.
happen, it's just a sequence of how it happens.
And I'm just thinking you'll get more accurate number, you know, more accurate dollar amount to begin
Well,
with.
once this is plugged in, you know, it's a push of the button, you know, as far as changing things, and it's not like we're redoing the whole thing, so if someone has an issue with a credit or a year, what have you,
Okay.
it's not gonna be that complicated, but it's definitely gonna go to them before, you know, to verify that. at
Good,
some
I think that's
stage
your
of use.
responsibility to take care of as you
So-
see fit, so I'm glad that you're doing it. I think it's good that you're informing us how you're gonna do it, but we should not be dictating how you should do it, so.
But we're allowed to ask questions.
Right.
The last
You
piece,
did.
last piece I have on here is, Dave and I are going down to the boundary appeal. You know, cause this is a significant one. At first I wasn't gonna go, I was gonna send Dave down, and, I think we know how to fight it this time. You know, last time we kind of got handed to us because of some of the things that they used against us, and it was more state of the district, academics, what have you, and now we can go down with a real, like, you know, if you're gonna let these people go to a different district, you're letting them go to a worse district, so do you care about kids? You know, basically, we've got a shining piece here, we got community support, we're renovating schools, we're doing this. We didn't have that story last time, because we didn't know what to expect. But this is a significant chunk of land, and it is, you know, I think we can put up a different argument for it, and we'll see what happens. But then we're also, you know, our hearing's at 2:30 in the afternoon, we're gonna go down the night before, because we're gonna meet with Patty, and then we're gonna be visiting some of the legislators down there, which is a key time right now for the budget talks and what have you. So we're gonna spend the morning at the Capitol, visiting with legislators. So that's all I have.
Did anyone have any other questions for Dr. Pizik? And we'll scoot right on to D. Any questions on the financial reports? On to E, the various reports, Bridging Somerset. Has there even been, I don't think there's been.
No, that's kind of on the shelf until this fall, because
Okay.
then we're gonna reorganize into kind of a Bridging Somerset 2.0, because we believe the work we've done has been completed, and now we're gonna restructure with a different makeup of the group.
CISA 11, we did the eval of Jerry, and it was, as we go through various discussions on how we should do evals, same thing happens up there. But he did send to us his, where he thought he was, which is helpful. So I'm hopeful that we can maybe have that from you, Dr. Bezick, before we do your next one, or where you think you're at ahead of it, so that we can actually review it, so.
Sure.
The annual meeting is the same night as our work session in June, so I wasn't able to go last year for the same reason. They understand that, so I think you had a question on that, Dr. Bezick, so.
Well, it was just, choosing a delegate was the only piece that
Yeah,
I had.
there's actually 3 that rotate. I think mine was last year, and we're not one of the 3 that
Okay.
rotates this year. But if someone else wants to do that, please just let me know. It does have to be decided at this point. That's why we couldn't tag team it last year, because he said, no, you were selected last year. Okay, but if we wanted to change, now is the time to do it, so. Otherwise, on to community ed. Catherine,
I don't have a report.
okay, and in the employee council?
So we have an upcoming meeting, and Tasia sent out the,
Draft handbook.
great version of, after they've gone through some reorganizing of it. And I asked her if she could please print a hard copy for me, and she's gonna do that tonight. Lori, I'm wondering if you might want one too, so she can just print two.
Yeah.
It's just, for me, it's easier.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I'm sorry,
When is that? Did you say this week?
June
5th.
And the big agenda item on there is, each respective group was to come back with any modifications to the handbook, so we could take a look at it, bring it back to the board, and see if there's gonna be any structural cost types changes that you guys have to deal with.
Great. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, the Memorial Scholarship Fund Board?
We've been very busy this time of year. We've met 3 times since our last board meeting, getting all the scholarships in place and ready for the presentation, which is next Wednesday, the 29th. It's in conjunction with Senior Memory Night, but we split it up a little bit, so it's gonna start at 6 o'clock, and Senior Memory Night officially starts at 7:30.
That's nice, cause that gets long.
45 about scholarships for, I don't remember how much money, but significant.
It's really wonderful to support the communities getting in the work you guys do to solicit those, to increase those
Yeah,
donations.
the 50/50 tickets are a big part of that, and also selling event tickets at the football games, basketball games, volleyball, wrestling. And donations, of course, as well.
Great. Anything for other? Did we miss anything, anybody? So have you started the meetings for the, no, probably not, because we don't have the person in place. So Bruce, we appreciate your taking on that construction one. And I think it's very interesting. I sent in that email having Bob, share what he knows about the growth in the community. So that's something we can talk about in our board review. All right, so open forum, did you guys have anything you wanted to say this evening? All right, then we're gonna scoot right over 3 on to 4, the advanced services operations. So if I could request a motion for A1, if anyone is interested in the meeting schedule, which one you would
So
like?
moved.
Which one did you want, A, B, or C?
I was looking at C.
Okay. Katie?
I'll second C.
Okay, and Catherine. So we have a first. Any questions on that?
I have a question. There was something on C.
Spring break.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with C being the most workable because of the 2 weeks in between meetings. But I was wondering if for March, we could stick with the work session. I know it's probably was changed to the 9th because of keeping 2 weeks in between. But perhaps for that month, we might want to have the work session on March 2nd to avoid spring break.
I sang that one.
I'll third
Well,
it.
okay,
amend
are you
my-
moving to amend?
I would like to make a motion to amend
The C.
C version to reflect a work session of March 2nd.
And you have seconded that,
Correct the mundo.
so we can.
Taylor, did you get all that?
Yes.
So then we won't go back and ask Katie and Catherine if they want to.
Nope, hold on.
So now we should vote on whether the
The
amendment
amendment
is
is accepted.
accepted.
Can I do it, is it all in favor
Sure.
of the amendment? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The amendment carries. Now we're back to Katie's motion with Catherine's second. All those in favor say aye
Aye.
with the amendment.
Mhm.
Any opposed? Great. C carries with one change,
Is there a
March.
time on there? I know we were talking the
I
6:30.
think there was,
Or
6:30.
7, but there's no
Yeah.
time on here.
I didn't put a time on there just because I historically haven't, but when I publish the schedule, I'll put the time out there then.
So these are 6:30, is that what we're going with?
Correct,
Mhm.
that's what we aim for.
Okay.
Yay, thanks Bruce for clarifying that. On to the referendum construction update. I'm looking for a motion on the recommend the school board approve Wold Architects as our architect of record for the upcoming referendum projects. Anyone interested in making that motion?
So moved.
Thank you,
I'll
Katie,
second.
and thank you, Bruce. Any discussion on that? Great, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have our architect, hopefully.
Thank you.
All right, so on to the discussion item of the construction management services. We're sending out an RFP, is that what you're asking for here?
So what we're asking basically is we want to go to RFP for construction management services. Two questions is, you know, do you want to cast a broad net, which might be prolong it and waste a little time, or can we go to like a short list of like maybe 3, 4, 5 construction managers that I would like to get some that Wold has worked with, so there's some symmetry with them. I listed a whole bunch of CMs that are there, and they've worked with almost all of them. Some are better than others, and I've worked with probably a third of these outfits. But again, do you want me to cast a wide net or a short list? And then how involved does the entire board want to be in this selection of the construction manager? Because what it would probably involve with is, an extra evening of having presentations by the CMs come in and basically interview with us. Probably, again, if we bring 4 of them in, or however many you want, you probably give them 20 minutes to a half an hour each to talk about what they do.
I would like that, I know, just,
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, what's the
but
preference?
just one.
Well, I would like the short list if we're gonna have them all present to us.
Me too.
Well, I don't think he's saying all of them.
No, but Bruce, what's your thoughts?
I've been on, we usually bring in 3, or usually
Yeah.
part of one of 3. You start with the 5 or 6, then it gets whittled down to 3 that you bring in for the interview. That's how I feel. I don't think you need to RFP for 10, or even a broad one.
Here's
Well,
what-
when you RFP, don't you just put it out
Well,
there
we
and
can put it
accept
out.
Well,
I
anything?
guess,
You can do that, you can put it out through the construction, Minneapolis construction, what have you, and, you're gonna get a lot of people we've never heard of before. Or you can solicit, we can say, okay, we want these 5, we're gonna we're gonna invite them to give us a presentation or price, if they're interested.
but with that, I don't wanna turn any away either. You never know. I
No.
mean, we just go broad and we get the 8 or 6 in, or, you never know how many you're gonna get in.
The one thought I had was, if the board didn't wanna be entirely involved with it, I would suggest, and maybe this is a way we whittle it down, between Bruce, myself, George, Dave, our business manager, and the Wold staff, to identify maybe 4 or 5.
Out of however many,
Yeah, and they know all of the big players around.
Okay.
I like the
list.
sounds of
Priority
that.
list.
And then we can come back to you and say, you know, this committee recommends we
Yeah.
interview these four,
That's good.
or five, or what have you. Does that
What do you
sound?
think, Lori, does that sound okay to you?
Sound
How about
okay?
you, Patty? Patty Jo? Do you go by Patty Jo or Patty? Both, great, thanks.
Okay, that's,
So you got your direction there?
yep, good direction, we're good.
Thanks, guys, good discussion there. On to item 5, the consent agenda. We've got pretty self-explanatory. Are there any questions, or is someone comfortable making a motion on all of those at once, or do you want them separated?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda A through E.
Thank
I'll
you,
second.
Lori, thank you, Catherine. Are there any questions on any of the items? Those donations were phenomenal, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I was wondering,
I thought that was
what was that
great.
for,
What is
the
it?
screen?
Yeah, it's for
Yeah.
some screen outside?
Yeah, right on the
So-
side, right on the side, oh, go ahead.
So they're similar to the soccer complex out here, they have the big red windscreen. There's going to be a windscreen that we put outside by the stadium, the football and track stadium. On one side, it's going to say Robert A. Seibel Field, home of the Spartans, and then on the other side of the fence, on the other side of the entryway, it'll have the Spartan head logos, and then also the conference championships and state championships for boys and girls track and field, and also football.
Sweet. Very nice.
So were
Very
those
pleasant.
solicited? Did someone, that is
Nope.
wonderful.
Yep, some people.
So
wanted
when
to
we
step
see
forward
those
and do that.
people, let's be sure to thank them.
Yeah,
I know
which
I've
is
seen
really
them.
nice thing for them to do.
That's awesome.
So do we put a thank you out in the paper on those, or do we not? Because that way, we're letting people know, hey, you can do this too
Yeah.
if you want.
Once we actually hang the windscreens up here, probably closer to the start of the fall season, just so they don't get weathered here over the summer, we wanna have those gentlemen come out and have their picture taken in front of it, put it in there.
Great.
Have the media class do a, little video thank you and put it on
I could do
Facebook.
that easily, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a neat idea.
We're pretty sure we got all the years right, so.
That's
We
neat.
doubled.
You said you
That's
have a rebar on
important.
it? Pretty
We
sure
had
you-
some
Again,
people
you
that
got all
were
the
well
years
versed on
right.
it.
I don't think he's missing.
That's awesome.
I thought it was too. All right, so if there's no questions on it, then I'm looking, all those in favor of the consent agenda approving all as recommended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. On to our general information, our June meeting dates, June 3rd and 17th
At 6.
at 6.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, good reminder. And then on our July meetings, we'll be starting at 6:30, is that right? Okay, so, once we're on the table, I'll start with you, Catherine.
I don't have anything.
Lori?
I don't have anything at this time.
Bruce?
Nothing.
Katie?
Well, I personally would appreciate some more information regarding the lawn care thing, because I think that we need to figure out kind of what happened in this process. So, I'd appreciate receiving the contracts from the prior, from Demling, and actually like the last two. And I would like a copy of the notice that was provided when he decided not to continue. And then hopefully the new contract, I wanna look at them and kind of see where we're at. And then email correspondence between people who were talking, specifically between the district, Demling, and the employees regarding how the RFP process was coming to fruition.
Yeah, and Katie sent me this note, and I asked her to bring it up here, because,
I don't know why.
what's that?
I don't know why.
Well, because I think we need to have a conversation about,
Okay.
how we operate with RFPs and what have you, because,
I do.
3 years now, I just, it hasn't been an issue, but I think we had some holes in our system.
Yes.
And the thing that I didn't appreciate was not knowing about this whole lawnmower thing, and when it all came down, after talking with people, digging into policy and what have you, our policy is okay, it's not real specific, anything over 10,000, you need competent or qualified bidders or what have you. But it really doesn't speak to, you always have the decision on RFPs of accepting or rejecting you know, the contracts and what have you. But there's some loose pieces in that policy that give authority to myself, and then there's some gray area where, you know, you have a budgeted item that, like this, that all of a sudden a contractor backs out on, and says, we're not gonna fulfill our contract because we can't do it. And then, you know, and we're not gonna cut grass, I mean, that's one of a basic service that we have to have. And so, you know, Dave's department went out to RFP right away, got a contract that I think they had 3 bidders on, and went back and forth and got a little bit better rate, and I don't know what the final outcome of it was, but then, you know, entered in with this new company that's doing it. So, I just, in this whole process, it seemed a little loose. I'd like to have it set, this is when we say we're going out for RFP, or if the board wants to have the approval of saying we're going out to RFP on different things, you know, like we've got the training piece out, you know, I've heard questions on that. You know, typically, communication would be there, and I put that in my note that, you know, communication in this one really was terrible, because I didn't even know about it.
Yeah.
And I knew we were going out for RFP with the training services, and that, I didn't know it had hit the streets yet until, you know, somebody mentioned it. And that's, so I just would like to clean up that whole process. Now, Neola has guidelines on purchasing, you know, we pulled those up. So I'm gonna sit with Dave's team and go through that, but.
Can I have those too?
Well, I have a question on
You
this.
can
No,
have
I'm
anything, you can have
serious.
anything you want.
I
but-
know, I know.
But I just think we need a structured process of what you wanna know and what you don't wanna know, because business has been going on here since the district was, you know, came together. It's just how much do you wanna know?
We really want to be careful that we're not trying to do their job, what we've hired them for. So that's, all those would be information you could have, but what we have
I
to
know.
remind ourselves as a board is that the information that's most beneficial here, or do we need to really address the policy that says, hey, we should see the RFP? We don't have to see the details of what happens or how the decision, but we should know how the decision was made.
No
So-
problem with, no
But
problem.
if there's a difference in how, I really think that's our role, policy. We can review the policy and make sure the policy is implemented, not exactly implementing it ourselves, how they, administration, implements it. So I'm not sure why you want to see all that.
I don't even have to tell you why I want to see anything, first of all, anybody can
You
ask
don't, you're
for it.
right, you're
Okay,
absolutely
so
right.
I don't know why you appear to be asserting a bad motive.
No, I'm
when
not
I
trying to.
hold it, when I have simply asked for information. I would also like to see the contracts,
And you sure
so I
can.
can make sure that we're covered. I have no idea, we were not provided a timeline there was something labeled timeline, but it didn't even tell us when notice was given. What are the notice provisions so that this doesn't happen again? Shouldn't we be working with Mark to figure out the best way to do this? This is not listen, I sent Mark an email, just making those requests. He asked me to bring it here. Don't come after me and try to make it seem like I'm trying to create trouble or I'm overstepping my bounds.
Take a breath.
No,
I'm not
my
trying
bounds
to.
as a school, no, I'm tired of this. My boundaries as a school board member are also to protect the taxpayers. So I would like to be able to do that. And I would like to be able to get the information for me to do my job. Okay? Don't give me like I have bad motives. I just want the information.
I didn't think that Katie had bad motives. I just wanted to remind us of where do we want to fall in our responsibilities.
I know what my role is.
And I'm
very
glad
well
you
aware
want to
of it.
review those. I think that's fine. I still say as a board, we review the policy. That's
But
all I.
We are
also
also
have a budget.
responsible for
Yes,
the
we are.
budget.
Yes,
And,
we are.
You know, I assumed the contract for lawn care was over $10,000. I really don't have any idea what it is. Is it over $10,000?
I believe it's somewhere, depending on the months, they bill us by the month.
Yeah.
But
But
I'm
I mean,
assuming the
for
whole
the-
thing is over $10,000, but we
So,
did bill
So then
no,
the
them,
that's
policy
so.
would say
something that
yes.
the board should be approving, and I think
Yeah.
it's important that we look at these contracts. I have a concern that I saw in your midweek update, something about if it's within the budget, that the board doesn't necessarily need to be notified. And I'm not sure that's a good policy.
I don't think that's in the policy, but that may be what they've practiced on in the past, and this is a unique situation.
And that's, you know, I was just gonna suggest, you know, that's, some of these things have been past practices, and, you know, again, some of these things I don't know about, because that's just the way they have been doing business for quite a while. But cleaning, you know, when we come to, as I mentioned in my note, as we do things like healthcare, transportation, things, these big things, I mean, you know, we're going out for RFPs on it, and, you know, it's a lengthy process. I'm just looking for some consistency that,
Yeah.
do we say, do we rework those guidelines, say, anytime we go out for an RFP, which I have no problem with this, I just want to know that, you know, I can tell staff that anytime we go out, okay, you gotta have a report for the board, boom, boom, here's the process we do. And that's what I want,
I
and,
thought that was spelled out in the policy,
no, it isn't, the policy,
but if it's saying 10,000 is the cutoff, to me, that would say, yes, when it's greater than that, it should come to the board. But this was a unique situation because we needed the grass mowed.
well, we needed it, but it's, you know, it was an accepted way of doing business, and, you know, everything that's in our policy, I don't say this badly or anything, but, you know, we have policies, but, you know, some of these things just haven't
They
been
need cleaning
followed
up.
in past practice.
And the
And-
board needs to do its due diligence.
Well, the
Well,
mowing,
you get board members, that, you know,
The
you have
mo-
board members that are looking at things, which, that's fine. Again, no problem in any of the questions or any of this stuff. I just wanna, so it doesn't happen again.
and mowing has come before us each time, so this was unusual, how it played out. But I think bringing out the awareness to us, and I appreciate that whoever brought it up, because I don't ever see who's mowing, so I wouldn't even have noticed that. We do wanna adhere to policy. So if I'm understanding you correctly, you want a play out of how that policy will be enacted?
What I'd like to do is, we just got the guidelines, I'm gonna sit down with Dave's group, we're gonna go through this, and I wanna write some stuff in there about the
More
RFP
specifically,
process.
okay,
You know, just about
I think
that.
that's a good idea.
Because in none of our policy, you know, it mentions the bidding over 10,000, but doesn't mention the RFP. It means qualified, talks about qualified bids, things like that. I'd just like to clean up some language, so it doesn't happen again.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, me
Clean up
too.
the language.
And I appreciate it when you go through the contracts, Katie, because I know that's what your specialty is. I know that's your forte, so please swallow.
I hope that Katie and Patty Jo and I can be involved in whatever this process is, how it ends for going future, so that, because it does have to do with policies.
Yeah, the policy component of
Well,
that
it'd be the whole
policy, that's you guys. The
Yep.
guidelines are us, how we implement your policy. I mean, you can see it and all that, but typically guidelines aren't board approved or what have you. The policies are. It's just that it's on us how we're gonna implement it, and I want that guideline so everyone knows what it is.
Have
and
you
here's what
even
we're following.
have you even enacted or guidelines?
Yeah, we've been taking a few.
Administrative
we-
guidelines or what?
We've been chucking a little bit away, that's why I met with Stu this last week to try and, okay, a concerted effort, and what I'm trying to do now is any policy we look at, if there's guidelines attached, to try and go through them at the time, but you know, like we just did that one with the CIS and, you know, all that, you know,
Oh,
so
yeah.
we pull them when we can, but again, that's another, it's time consuming, but the big ones that we need stuff on, we're having trouble, we do them,
Okay.
so. And we're paying for this service, so
Thank
we
you.
have access
And
to
Mark
it.
is always very, you know, he knows what the open records law is. He's always very accommodating, and kudos to you for that. I appreciate that, but it's available to anybody.
So on to, I'll come back to mine. Did you have anything that you want to throw?
In the email you sent, you said the mower caper, there wasn't anything stolen, right? You're
No.
talking about the contract. My brain started going like,
That's
okay,
humor.
something was stolen, did we report it? Okay, so I have to worry about
I
that.
use that line in rooms, I'm sorry. Next time I'll put JOK.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Just remember experiencing the capers. If someone stole something. And then then, so besides that, could I get a copy of the policies? I forgot to ask you, I spoke with someone that to get a paper copy, cause I can't, board docs works for me once in a while and sometimes it doesn't, and I'm trying to get in. I don't know.
If you would, I would love to help you with board docs, otherwise I'd have to, and I'm happy to do it if board docs doesn't work for you.
I
But I'd
have a
have to-
paper copy.
I would have to go in
I
and
do. I
print
have a
them.
big binder.
Yeah.
I'll bring it next time.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, cause if I'm supposed to look at policies, I can't
Last
do it on,
Pretty- But that'll give room. I got one from last summer.
okay.
Remember you printed one for me?
A whole book?
I think it's a binder.
Oh, yes,
Mhm.
oh, yes, you
Yeah.
did,
Uh-huh. Cool.
and she didn't wanna do it again.
And
I must have erased that from my memory.
Rightfully so,
And again, I
I
was
guess.
having trouble with board docs too, and I just had a few, so I'll just give it to you. I'm good
Okay.
now. I
But
don't have any
Tasia's
board.
really, really super good, so she'll kind of show you what the problem is.
Perfect.
Because it is definitely easier to get any updates through board docs than to try and keep track of which paper copy is the most recent.
But it gives you, for me, I didn't have a
Yes.
good idea of the sections and how it worked.
Yeah.
And it's too individualized on there, and I needed the big picture and to see how the sections worked. And now I get it, so.
And I think too, as the three of you work on chunks of policies, I'm happy to print paper copies of those two at that. I mean, I'm not afraid to print copies, but just for efficiency and so that you don't have a stack of 1,000 sheets of paper,
Right.
that might be the most helpful.
So, did you have any?
Nope.
All right, and then on to, we need to set up how you want to do the board self-evaluation and the tool that we will use. Tasia was gonna look into that this spring for us to do this summer. So if you would, I couldn't remember what we were talking about. There was one you could do online. Do you remember the name of it?
I'd have to go back and look in the file.
Yeah, couldn't remember either, and I didn't even know what to put in the search bar of the emails, but we'll do that, and we'll talk about that then at the work session in June 3rd. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay, just commencement, we need two people, we need a speaker and someone to help hand diplomas.
When you say speaker, just some welcoming
Yeah,
remarks and a
just
short
some-
quip.
just,
Catherine has graciously
you know,
said she will do that.
You did
She
last
did.
year.
She did, she
Yeah.
said, I'd be
Like
happy
doing
So,
to.
and then just one other person to be up there, helping hand out diplomas, and then anybody else that wants to be there, when the kids are walking through, we're gonna have to do the handshake and things like that by anybody else down on the side, which is fine, but we get too many people up on
Yep.
the altar there and it's a mess.
Yeah.
What is the date?
June 3rd?
Second, the Sunday.
I would like to give out diplomas.
Okay, so then,
Great.
Are you okay with that?
Oh, totally.
so then you two will be up on, stage then.
Long of a
Perfect.
period,
Okay.
is not
No.
something
What
we
time
need
is
to
it?
farm.
Thank you.
Two,
One.
1 o'clock?
1 o'clock.
Thank you both for doing that.
I remember right, you just show up for like a quarter two. I mean, you don't have to be there that early. I remember walking in like a quarter two.
Well, you were late.
No, I wasn't. You guys were early. What am I gonna do, stand around and?
Is everyone wearing gowns up on the stage this year?
No.
Yeah, the
No.
teachers are all wearing,
We
I
all
just
wear
wear a dress.
down below.
but you can wear your graduate gown if you'd like.
Oh, what the
I
heck.
probably think.
I wear mine. Well, it's nice to make a nice formal, I wear it.
All right,
Spend
so
money for
we'll
that.
discuss those things at the June work session and anything else that you might have missed. If not, I would entertain an emotion.
I moved to adjourn.
All right, and it is
I'll
7.
second.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Katie.
You know, that's-
So Katie, motion to adjourn, Lori seconded at 7:28. 7:27. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys.